All right, let's talk more about El Salvador and the people that we are sending there and refusing to take back, even though it's been proven that they are not criminals or gang members, no matter how much the White House likes to gaslight and pretend otherwise. If you do any independent fact checking or sourcing on this, you will quickly come to the conclusion that specifically Abrego Garcia is not some gangbanger, as Fox News and White House correspondents and officials would like you to believe. Judge rebukes Trump officials for not securing return of wrongly deported man. So, as we know, Trump has not made any effort to bring him back. If anything, has basically said, nah, we're not bringing him back. A federal judge sharply rebuked the Trump administration and scolded officials on Tuesday for taking no steps to secure the return of a man wrongly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador, as the U.S. Supreme Court had ordered in a contentious ruling last week. And stick around to the end of the video. We're going to be going, again, as I do every time I cover this, evidence against Abrego Garcia, previous court rulings on his status, and the things of the like. And at the end, we're going to talk about how U.S. citizens are next. And no, that's not just us liberals being like, grandstanding and saying fascist, fascist. Like, no, like this is from the horse's mouth. U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas said, Zenas, I don't know if I've been saying that right, but Paula said that Donald Trump's news conference with El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, where the leaders joked that Kilmar Ábrego Garcia would not be released, did not count as compliance. To date, nothing has been done, Zenas said, a day after senior Trump officials also mounted an effort to sidestep the Supreme Court decision by offering increasingly strained readings of the order to claim they were powerless to bring back Abrego Garcia. Yeah, this has been like disgusting, and like constitutional crisis is an understatement. You've seen in the Bukele meeting how Trump's advisors and Trump's inner circle, Pam Bondi, etc., are framing this to him. I forget what the freaking douchebag's name was, but he's like, yeah, this was a Supreme Court ruling 9-0 unanimous in our favor. What do you mean in your favor? They told you to bring him back. Oh my goodness. Anyways, the judge ultimately said she would require the administration to produce details under oath about its attempt to return Abrego Garcia to U.S. soil in 2 weeks, an unusually expeditious timeline for discovery that indicated that how she intends to move with the case. An issue at the hearing in federal district court in Maryland was the administration's narrow reading of the Supreme Court order that compelled it to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, who was supposed to have been shielded from being sent to El Salvador. The administration had earlier conceded that Abrego Garcia's deportation was administrative error, but has since taken a position that it is powerless to bring him back beyond removing domestic obstacles, and that courts lack the constitutional power to dictate the president to do more. Yeah, they keep saying, like, this is foreign policy, bro. Like, no, it's not. Anyone detained and arrested on our soil and sent to a prison, I don't give a shit where that prison is not like foreign policy, okay? Like, that is a legal issue, and courts absolutely should have jurisdiction there. I don't care where they are. I don't think we should be sending anyone to a foreign slave labor camp, criminal or not, especially when they are all alleged and there's been no trial, no due process. Understand, when you are sent there, it's not like, oh, you're sentenced to 10 years here, 20 years here, or even officially life here. No, you are just sent there indefinitely until you die. And that death is kind of accelerated due to the conditions there, to put it lightly. Let's see. An issue at the hearing. Oh, no, read that. The administration had earlier. We already read that too. Where am I? The lead lawyer for the administration, Drew Ensign, also said in legal filings before the hearing that even Abrego Garcia were returned to the U.S., the Justice Department would deport him to a different country or move to terminate the order blocking his removal to El Salvador. Like, these people are monsters, man. We are talking about someone who is a father, has 3 kids, and is married to a U.S. citizen who has done nothing wrong. And it's just like, well, if you bring him back, we're just going to deport him to another country. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He came here when he was 16. Jesus Christ. Like, it's so inhumane, and Republicans just blindly cheer this like it's a good thing. This isn't a good thing. This guy isn't a terrorist. Please, research it yourself. I'm begging you. But the judge rejected the administration's narrow reading of facilitate, noting the plain meaning of the word meant officials needed to secure Ábrego Garcia's release, and that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement had previously taken a number of positions on its meeting. Your characterization is not bound in fact, Zenas said. I need facts. The administration argued it had sought to comply with the Supreme Court's order when Trump addressed the case, and Bukele questioned whether he was supposed to smuggle Ábrego Garcia across the border, which Ensign argued showed the matter had been raised at the highest levels. Oh my. The judge appeared unimpressed by the argument. It's not a direct response, Zenas said, nor is the quip about smuggling someone into the U.S. If you were removing domestic barriers, there would be no smuggling, right? Two misguided ships passing in the night. The judge told Ábrego Garcia's lawyers to prepare by Wednesday their questions for the administration about what steps it had taken. She had said they could depose up to 6 officials, including Robert Cerna, a top official at ICE, and Joseph Mazzara, the acting general counsel of the Department of Homeland Security. Cancel vacations, Zenas told Ensign. Cancel appointments. I'm usually pretty good about this in my courtroom, but not this time. After the hearing, Ábrego Garcia's lawyer, Reena Gandhi, called the hearing a win, but added they were not yet done. We have not brought Kilmar home, she told reporters, but we will be able to question those invoked and information and evidence is involved and get information and evidence as required. She also accused the administration of acting in bad faith. The case is about the government's unlawfully and admitting to unlawfully removing a gentleman from this country, from his home, his family, his children, and taking no actions to fix them as ordered by the Supreme Court. There is also a Maryland senator that is, unless something changed, as of this morning, on their way to El Salvador to try to at least meet with Ábrego Garcia and try to get him released. Unfortunately, I'm blanking on the senator's name, but props to them, and I hope they have a whole delegation with them of the lawyers, ideally other senators or at least representatives. Like, this is a big deal, and not many people realize that. Because if they can do it to this guy, or anyone for that fact, because the biggest thing we're stressing here is due process and the lack thereof. Do you understand? It's not liberals and leftists saying we want gang members on our street. We're saying before people are sent to prison, they should have a trial and be tried. Does that make sense? Not because someone claimed they were a terrorist or a gang member. Kilmar, so I asked ChatGPT, what evidence of gang ties, criminal ties are there against Ábrego Garcia? Please describe previous immigration court rulings, including details about the ones that was cited. He was a member of MS-13. What his legal status was at the time of deportation. Let's see. Kilmar Ábrego Garcia, a Salvadorian national residing in Maryland, was deported to El Salvador in March 2025 despite existing legal protections against such action. The deportation has since been acknowledged by U.S. authorities as an administrative error. Evidence of alleged gang ties. The U.S. government has alleged that Ábrego Garcia is affiliated with the MS-13 gang, a designated foreign terrorist organization. The claim is primarily based on a confidential informant statement linking him to an MS-13 cell in New York, a location where Ábrego Garcia has never resided. Additionally, authorities cited his attire, specifically a Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie, as indicative of gang affiliation. However, these assertions have been contested by his attorneys, who argue that the evidence is unsubstantiated and relies on heresy. So I also read that this confidential informant, I'm not sure if I didn't confirm this myself, so take this with a grain of salt, but they were shortly after fired and tried and then put on leave on a bunch of stuff. So yeah, their word to begin with, even before all that, was, not solid. And especially because there's no evidence provided with it. So immigration court rulings in 2019 during bond proceedings, an immigration judge denied Ábrego Garcia's release, citing the informant's claim as sufficient evidence of gang affiliation. The decision was upheld on appeal. However, it's important to note that these proceedings did not constitute a full adjudication of the gang membership allegation. Later that year, another immigration judge granted Ábrego García withholding of removal status, recognizing that he faced a credible threat of persecution if returned to El Salvador. This status legally protected him from deportation to that country. And I love that this happened in 2019 because, like, Trump likes to go around saying, like, Biden just let gangbangers and terrorists and criminals free on the streets, which isn't true. That's just not true at all. By their definition, Ábrego García is a terrorist gangbanger, and he was released onto the streets and was saved from deportation in 2019. That's funny. Who was president in 2019? It wasn't Joe Biden. But anyways, he's not a terrorist or gangbanger or anything. At the time of his deportation in March 2025, Ábrego García was legally residing in the United States under the withholding of removal status granted in 2019. He held a valid work permit, lived with his U.S. citizen wife and their children in Maryland, and compelled with annual check-ins with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Despite these legal standings, he was deported to El Salvador, where he is currently detained in a terrorism confinement center. The U.S. Supreme Court has since ordered the Trump administration to facilitate Ábrego García's return. But yeah, we already know that. So yeah, like, please look at the facts of this case and stop saying, like, these damn liberals and leftists trying to get these criminals back on our streets and terrorist defenders. No, we're due process defenders. Jesus. And then, real quick here, White House is exploring legality of sending U.S. citizens to foreign prisons. The White House is looking into the legality of sending U.S. citizens to prisons in El Salvador. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said in a briefing Tuesday, the big picture, President Trump has recently threatened to send Americans to notorious El Salvador prison, where several deported Venezuelans who are alleged to be members of MS-13 gang and one erroneous deported Maryland man are being held. And remember, alleged. There were studies, 2 studies came out on the people who were deported there. At least on the low end, 75%, on the high end, 90%. But we'll use the low end, 75%. Had no criminal record in the United States or in the foreign country that they came from. Keep that in mind when you're cheering on these mass deportations to a slave labor extermination camp. Sending U.S. prisoners to foreign jails violates the Constitution's 8th Amendment, which bars cruel and unusual punishments. What she's saying, asked by a reporter if the White House believes it has the power to deport American citizens to Central American prisons or if it has to change the law to do so, Leavitt said, it's another question that the president has raised. She added, it's a legal question that the president is looking into. Trump would only consider this if legal for Americans who are the most violent, egregious, repeat offenders of crime who nobody in this room wants living in their communities. So it's funny because that's back on the campaign trail. That's the people who were supposed to be rounded up in these mass deportations. It was supposed to be criminals, violent criminals only. Okay. And then we moved the bar to all illegal immigrants because they said, like, oh, no, we meant we're mass deporting all criminals. Well, by definition, if you are an illegal immigrant, you're not even a criminal, but like that is breaking the law. It's not a criminal offense, by the way. It's like a civil. It's like a what's it called? Civil offense. It's a misdemeanor. All right, it's nothing more than that. Now, if you get removed and keep coming back, then the charges go up, of course. So we went from that to revoking certain statuses, TPS statuses granted by Biden, to deporting those people, so deporting those legal people, to removing any legal designation from the Biden administration. So it went to that, to students on student visa who speak out on the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And then it went to permanent green card holders who spoke out against the actions of Israel in Gaza. And then in my notes here, I have it went to this, to this, to this. And after permanent green card holders, I just have a bunch of question marks. Can you fill in what those question marks probably are? Yeah. So that's where we're at as a country. And unfortunately, there are still many people who just don't realize that, or maybe they do realize that and they're cheering it on because, whatever. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.